Okay, as we build up more tracks on this thing, organizing the project is real important. You can very easily lose track of what's recorded on what track and where you are and whatnot. It helps a lot to name each track as you go, so you don't forget and make a dumb error like erasing a track you didn't want to erase. There's two ways you can do this. You can do it directly on the LCD, or you can do it with Access, which is faster. If you don't have a computer and you don't have Access, the way you do it is you call up the channel screen for whatever you want to name. So I'm going to call up the channel screen for tracks 1 and 2 by hitting the 1 through 12 fader bank, the Q channel, and then the select button for track 1. Track 1 shows up on the LCD with an asterisk, meaning it's part of a stereo linked pair. In order to name this track, I hit Utilities, Name, and now we have a track naming screen with capitals, lowercase, numbers, and characters on the right that you get to using the Q knobs. I'm going to call this Kick Drum Left, track 1, because the kick drum is in stereo. So using the cap, I'm going to get to the K. I'm going to cursor over 1, and using lowercase, I'm going to get to I, as well as using the Access keyboard in scroll lock mode, and you hit that scroll lock button and that's active. I can now enter data directly from the keyboard. I can cursor right and hit a C, and K, and space, and we're going to say kick, okay, we'll do drum, and then left. When I've got it named, I hit enter. Done. You can see it's a lot faster to do it this way than it is to do it that way, although it's not a huge problem to do it right on the machine either. When I want to name the next track, even though it's a stereo link pair, if I hit 2, okay, it still doesn't have its own name. That doesn't happen when you link channels, in this case disc tracks. So I'm going to name this one too. Name, and I've got I've got scroll lock activated. I'm going to name this one Kick Drum Right and hit enter. Okay? And I can go through that process for all my tracks. This is going to be snare. Okay, so now we've got 6 tracks of drums in stereo, and I'm going to record some bass in mono. I called up a bass patch on a synthesizer. This synthesizer is plugged into inputs 1 and 2, even though I'm only using a mono bass sample, so I'm only going to record either one of inputs 1 and 2 to track 7. In this case, again, I'm taking my audio directly. I'm not sending it to an input channel because I don't need to. Because I'm going to do EQing and compression and all of that stuff later on. I don't need to change the sound that's being recorded. That's why you would use the input channel. Track 7 is receiving its audio from ADC number 1, which is one of the 2 inputs that this synthesizer is hooked up to. I've got a good level, my trims are set. The only thing I need to do is actually listen to my drum tracks that I've already recorded and play along with it. So I need to adjust the relative balance that's comfortable for me between the track of bass that I'm adding and the track of drums, the tracks of drums that are on there. I adjust that relative balance using the faders, track 1 through 12 fader bank, for all of the tracks, as well as track 7, which is the bass track that I'm adding. So I'm going to start the transport. I can hear the drums. I'm going to set up a balance that's bass heavy just so I can hear myself playing comfortably. Okay, I've got a good balance that allows me to work. I'm going to go back to 0. The only thing I need to do to record this is actually press play and record, and you'll see an orange stripe show up on axis. And so on and so forth. Now I can hear the drums, the bass, everything I've all recorded, and adjust the relative levels of all of those. And so on and so forth. We build all our tracks. Okay, so now we've built up a lot of tracks here. We added a clav to it. We added a distorted guitar to it. We added 2 harmony guitar tracks, as well as a wah-wah guitar track. And all the guitars except for the distorted guitars were done by Dan Mullins, who's working the camera. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
He plugged directly into the high Z in on a DPS24 from the guitar, no amp, no nothing. That automatically shows up at input number 12. So in order to use that, all you have to do is whatever track you want to record the guitar to, source the input as input number 12, and that guitar will already automatically show up on that track. High Z, input 12. From there you can do anything you want with it. Or you can take it from ADC number 12 too, direct. In our case, we used input 12 because I wanted to put some dynamics on the guitar, some compression to protect the levels. Even though it's happening after conversion, it still helps control the signal. I'm going to show you how to do dynamics, EQ, effects, and all of that stuff when we start to get into mixing. Since the process is the same regardless, I just, for the sake of time and clarity right now, I wanted to tell you how we did it. Dan did a really neat guitar harmony melody on this thing, and we wanted to show up in 2 places in the song. Thanks to digital recording, we don't have to play that melody twice. We can take those tracks, define the melody itself as a region, lift that region, copy it, and paste the entire thing in a new location. To save time again on the video, we didn't do that on camera, but I'll show you exactly what we did. The first thing is we defined the region of those guitar melody harmony lines, and they're here on tracks 13 and 14. Okay, and I set the exact beginning by using my edit screen to look at the waveforms of my region as right where the guitar starts, and I placed an in at that point. Right at the end of that guitar melody, I defined as my out point. So now I have a specific region on the timeline defined. That region can apply to any tracks, but in this case it applies to only the harmony guitar tracks. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn on edit for those 2 tracks. You'll notice that those 2 guitar harmony tracks are now highlighted in bright green, easy to see what you're doing. You can also see it on the native LCD, which is also a great way to do this stuff. I like to do it on Axis for the big gross moves because it's just easy to see. Anyway, define the guitar melody as a region, in and out. Now what we have to do is we have to copy those guitar tracks. We're going to copy them to the clipboard. So I right click on those tracks, hit edit, copy, This screen tells us what we're doing. We're taking the in-out region and we're going to copy it to the clipboard. Works just like a computer. And hit copy. Now that region, which is the guitar harmony melody, has been copied to the internal clipboard. I can paste it as many times as I want. I can do whatever else I want with it. It's on the clipboard until the next time I copy something. So now I've also, ahead of time off camera, defined where I want to put that copy. So I can hit go to, and I already placed a marker precisely where I want to put the guitar melody the second time, and I called it Guitar Melody 2. So on my go to screen, I highlight where I want to go, Guitar Melody 2, and hit enter. And there I am. The next thing I want to do is I have those same tracks still highlighted, not highlighted, still ready for editing, okay? No other tracks are ready for editing. If I do, then I have a problem. So just those two tracks are ready for editing. Now I just do a simple paste. Edit. Paste. Again, the graphic tells us what's going to happen. We hit paste. The two guitar tracks now wound up, again, the exact original melody that he just played before. We copied and pasted it, and they wind up in a different location on the song. I'm going to go back to the original melody and play the original. Here comes the melody. Now I'm going to play the copy. Now you know how to copy and paste, but I'm thinking where that melody comes in the second time, I'd like it to happen more than once. So since I have my in and out regions defined, okay, if I had hit copy, okay, and again that chunk of audio is a precisely defined piece, and I go to paste this thing, I could paste it more than once. So I could take it, even though it was played once, paste it as many times as I want, and I'll show you how that works. Go to Guitar Melody 2. I'm going to paste right over the old one that I did. And instead of pasting it once, on the native LCD, okay, we're going to hit paste. And we get the option of how many times we want to paste it here. If I paste it once, we get the original chunk one time. Paste it twice, I'll get two of them. And that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to hit, and I can do it over here too, paste. So here's Dan's melody part. Okay? A little bit more editing we'll cover just to go over all this, how this works. In order to edit, you first find a place that you want to edit, and that means define the region. So I'm going to the beginning of the song now, and I'm going to mark that as the end point. And I'm going to go ahead on the song, and I'm going to wipe out the count in, which are the hi-hat clicks. So I'm going to locate to that point now. Okay? And I'm going to mark that. Now this is a gross kind of an edit. You don't need to be that that precise with it. So I'm going to mark that as my out point. And in fact, since no audio that I want to keep is at that point in the song, I'm going to wipe all the tracks out up to that point. And move myself ahead. Okay, now if I want to get real precise, and I don't need to do a gross kind of an edit, I prefer to do it on the DPS24's LCD itself. Now you have the option of, when you activate wheel mode, you can manually scrub, okay, with the jog or the shutter wheel. Okay, you can hit plus or minus on the numeric keypad and make very, very gradual moves. How gradual the moves are depends on how far you've zoomed in on the screen. In order to zoom, hit shift, and we use the cursor buttons for zooming. Up and down zooms in on the amplitude of the waveform, the height of the waveform. Left and right zooms in on the frequency, the waveform length, whatever you want to call it. And I can get real precise. As a matter of fact, the DPS24 will edit to the sample level if I want to get really anal about it. But we don't need to get that crazy about it. So the further in I zoom, the smaller the increments or decrements are defined by the plus and minus buttons on the numeric keypad. So I'm right before the first hit, as indicated on the waveform. I'm going to locate my out point. Now I'm going to make all the tracks ready for editing by highlighting them all. Okay? And it's very clear again on the axis screen, because you can see all 24 tracks, that all my tracks now are ready for an edit. I have to find my in and out region. I have to just right click on the axis screen, or I can do the edit on the LCD. Choose edit, erase. Bingo, it's all gone. By the way, none of this is destructive at this point because you can always undo this stuff. And there's undo. Okay? And it just takes a second for the waveforms to redraw. And here's redo. They're all gone again. The same way that you edit a region, you can apply DSP to a region and do things like normalize, resample, time stretch, change the pitch of it, reverse the audio, all kinds of things you can do that are applied to a region. You can also use DSP to resample a region, render that region as a continuous wave file. This is handy when you have a track that's made up of a lot of punch-ins and you want to have one continuous track. What you can do is take a track, define a region, however long the track is, or it could be the entire length of the song if it's one of those tracks, made up of a lot of punch-ins, and apply DSP to it. Okay, for instance, time stretch. Now I've got all of these selected. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up my tracks, but say I was working on track 24. I could apply time stretch to that but not change anything. If I don't make any adjustments, what happens is the machine will re-render that entire track with all the pieces that made that track up as a continuous wave file. So you don't have 20 different little bits of audio data floating around on the hard drive for that one track. Okay? So now you know how to take a region, define an in and out point, edit it, clean up things, get rid of unused audio, copy audio to another place so you don't have to play it more than one time. And that's basically how the editing functions work on the machine.